Welcome to this presentation developed by the College of Dietitians of Manitoba, explaining the registration processes for internationally educated dietitians in Manitoba. My name is Sandra Baines, and I am the Administrative Assistant at the College of Dietitians of Manitoba. I will be presenting to you today how to become a registered dietitian in Manitoba. In this presentation, we will give you some background information on this field, as well as on the College of Dietitians of Manitoba. We will then explain the registration processes for internationally educated dietitians in Manitoba. We will also respond to the following questions in this presentation. What is the role of the College of Dietitians of Manitoba? What is a dietitian in Manitoba? What are the eligibility requirements to practice as a dietitian? What is the registration and application process? What documents do I need? And what are the potential outcomes of this process? At this time, you may be wondering, what is the College of Dietitians of Manitoba, or our short form, CDM? The College of Dietitians of Manitoba is the regulating body within the province for dietitians and the profession of dietetics. Our primary role is to regulate the practice of dietitians within the province to ensure protection of the public. The college establishes the scope of practice, determines education standards, and ensures that its members are competent to practice as a dietitian. All individuals who will be practicing as a dietitian, that is, providing dietetic service and advice to the public, must be registered with CDM. This includes registered dietitians, dietitians, graduate dietitians, and dietetic interns. These titles, as well as the initials RD, are a protected title by Manitoba law, just like physicians and nurses. This means that you can't use this title unless you are registered with CDM. Now, let's talk about those who practice dietetics in Manitoba, registered dietitians. Registered dietitians, or RDs for short, are uniquely trained to advise you on food, diet, and nutrition. Registered dietitians are essential members of the healthcare team and contribute to the health and well-being of Manitobans. Registered dietitians advise patients on food, diet, and nutrition. They provide information about diet and diet therapies in the prevention and treatment of disease. Dietitians also provide information and counseling that enable consumers to make informed decisions about food choices and nutrition services. And finally, they influence the development and promotion of consumer products and manage quality food service and healthcare institutions. Clients of dietitians range from preterm infants to senior citizens. Dietitians in Canada work in a variety of settings, such as in industry, at the hospitals, home care, long-term care, universities, in private practice, at the government level, and in public health. Additionally, dietitians specialize in many different areas of practice, including clinical services, community service, public health, food service management, private practice, food industry, and marketing boards. Dietitians promote health through nutrition and food. Dietitians find solutions to promote health and manage special health conditions, such as diabetes, heart disease, and cancer, allergies, and obesity. They are a valuable member of the healthcare team and work with other healthcare professionals, such as physicians, nurses, physiotherapists, and speech-language pathologists. For more information on the College of Dietitians of Manitoba and the practice of registered dietitians in Manitoba, please visit our website at www.manitobadietitians.ca. While you're on the CDM website, take a look around. There are a number of resources that will be helpful to you as you gain an understanding of the role of CDM. and the work of RDs in Manitoba. Finally, the registration processes for internationally educated dietitians. It will be useful to view the documents available through the CDM website called Application Guide and Registration. The information shared in this presentation is the same as the information in the application guide, so this will help to reinforce one another. At this point, you should have a better understanding about the role of the College of Dietitians of Manitoba and the practice of dietetics in Manitoba. Now we're going to take a look at the registration process for internationally educated applicants. In Manitoba, we receive many skilled immigrants each year. Whenever possible, we want to support the process of transition back into profession for which you were previously trained. If you were trained as a dietitian in your home country, you may be eligible to practice as a dietitian in Manitoba. So, what are the eligibility requirements? In order to be eligible for registration as an RD, you must meet the following requirements. The first one is academic requirement. You must have completed a university degree in human nutritional sciences or equivalent. You must have also completed a dietetic internship or a practicum program that is equivalent to a Canadian accredited program. The standard internship and practicum program in Manitoba is 35 to 40 weeks. You must have also successfully passed the Canadian Dietetic Registration Examination, and the College of Dietitians of Manitoba considers an applicant up to date if they have met all the requirements within 3 years prior to the date of this application. The 4 requirements listed above are non-exemptable, which means these requirements must be met before the college can issue you a registered dietitian license. There are also other requirements, such as you must be able to speak English or French fluently. You must provide proof of current registration in good standing with your country or state licensing body, if you have one in your country or state. You must provide information on professional development and continuing education activities. If you think you meet the eligibility requirements, then we would encourage you to compile and submit an application package to CDM. Each step for the application mirrors one of the eligibility requirements. Therefore, I'll explain more about each of these requirements in the following slides, including how you prove that you meet these requirements and review the documents needed to verify each requirement. The first step of the application process is that you must verify that you meet the academic requirements to practice as an RD. To do so, your degree must be assessed by a comparative education service. This assessment will determine if your nutrition degree is equivalent to a degree from a Canadian university. This assessment is not done by the college, but through other agencies and can take several weeks. You can find information on costs and time for assessment on the agency website. The College of Dietitians of Manitoba accepts comparative education services from the following agencies. The first agency is World Education Services, or WES. If you complete your assessment through WES, then please request the document-by-document report. You can also have your transcripts verified and sent to the college by ordering the ICAP service through WES. The second agency is IQAS, or International Qualifications Assessment Service. If you complete your assessment through IQAS, then please request the basic assessment. The third options in the comparative education services is through the University of Toronto. The results of the comparative education services must be sent directly from the agency to us. If we have your email address, we will contact you to confirm that we have received your assessment results. All assessments can be appealed to the credential agency if warranted. Information and websites for these organizations can be found on the application guide on page 4. Once your academic credentials have been assessed by Comparative Education Service and your degree is determined to be equivalent to a degree from a Canadian university, the next step of this process is to apply to the College of Dietitians of Manitoba. There are two parts to this process. The first part of this application involves an assessment of your nutrition academics and credentials. To assess your nutrition academics, we require the following: a completed application form, results of the Comparative Education Service assessment, official transcripts or notarized copies. Notarized means that your documents must be legalized by a lawyer, a notary public, or a university official. Transcripts must come directly from your university to the college office. We need an official transcript for university before a license will be issued. You can also have transcripts sent from WES if ICAP service is ordered. If you don't have official transcripts, please contact us. We also require course descriptions from the calendar of the university you attended. Your courses will then be compared to a Canadian accredited undergraduate program. We require a copy of each degree or certificate of graduation, a payment, which will be presented later under titled fees in this presentation. Upon receipt of your application and comparative service results, the college will assess if your degree meets the necessary qualifications of a Canadian accredited nutrition program. Now, to assess your internship practical training, you must provide the following to CDM: a detailed summary of your internship education program, a letter from your education program director that says your program contains experience in clinical and therapeutic nutrition, food service administration, and community health, and that it was supervised by a registered dietitian. And finally, you will need to submit a notarized copy of your graduation certificate from a dietetic internship or practicum training. This certificate must be sent directly from the facility to the college office. The third step in this process is that you must complete the competency self-assessment form and submit it to the CDM office with your application. This form is available on the website under the Internationally Educated Dietitian menu tab. The document is called Competency Self-Assessment Form. This self-assessment form lists the competencies for entry-level dietitians and provides you information as to what skills are needed in order to work as a dietitian in Manitoba. When you open the form, you will see many activities and competencies listed. For each, you will be asked to indicate one of the following options. You observed RD supervisor perform this activity. You are able to perform this activity with supervision. You are able to perform this activity independently, or this activity was not included in your internship practicum program. This will be a good opportunity to reflect on your own practice. Keep in mind that practicing RDs in Manitoba are expected to do all these tasks and exhibit these competencies independently. The fourth step in this process is that you are required to provide proof of language proficiency if you earned your degree in a language other than English or French. Language proficiency test scores will be considered valid for 2 years. For English language proficiency verification, you must submit a certified copy of one of the following to the CDM office as proof of language proficiency. The college accepts test results from the Test of English as a Foreign Language, or International English Language Testing System, and CanTest, Canadian Test of English for Scholars and Trainees. The acceptable scores are outlined on this page, and more information can be found on the application guide. If you speak French as a first language or have been educated in French, you will be considered fluent. If required, French proficiency will be assessed with the support of the Adult Language Training Branch of Manitoba Labour and Immigration. Part of the assessment process includes an in-person college interview conducted at the college office, which will be based on a basic nutrition knowledge examination. Step 5 in the registration process with the College of Dietitians of Manitoba is that all applicants are required to submit an original criminal record search. We also require an adult abuse registry check and a child abuse registry check. Contact information such as a website and a phone number on how to process a criminal record check and the other required checks can be found on the application guide. If you currently reside or have recently resided within 1 year outside of Canada, you must provide a criminal record search based on a nationwide search from the appropriate law enforcement agency in that country. The 6th step in this process is providing proof of registration with another licensing body if applicable. If you are currently registered with your country or state licensing body, please provide the college with proof of registration. The 7th step in this process is providing proof of identity. You must provide proof of identity and current legal name with a document, such as a passport. The college will accept a photocopy of your verification of identification. Please submit this with your application. Finally, the 8th step of this process is explaining your continuing education. If you have completed any continuing education or professional development programs, please provide this information on the Continuing Education Summary Form, which is included in this application form package. This is not a requirement for registration, but it provides further information to assist in the assessment process. Here is the Continuing Education Summary Form. In order to complete it, review your professional portfolio and CV to identify the continuing education activities that you have completed related to the field of dietetics. This could include academic courses you completed, workshops, conferences, or presentations you attended, any online courses, distant education, and webcasts related to dietetics, self-directed learning, publications you published, presentations that you presented, or any courses given. Here is an example of how to complete this form. We ask that you include the date that you completed the activity, the title of the activity, a description of what it involved, how long it took you to complete, and the dietetic learning outcome. Under this column, please include how it was relevant to your practice and how it would improve your practice as a dietitian. Let's review the summary of this process. The first stage, which you'll see on the left, is to assess your degree. You can complete this process through WES, IQUAS, or the University of Toronto. The second stage, which you'll see in the middle, is to complete the assessment with the College of Dietitians of Manitoba. This involves submitting your comparative education assessment, assessing your nutrition degree and nutritional credentials, and finally, assessing your practical training or your dietetic internship. Then you must complete the additional requirements of the CDM assessment, including your self-assessment, language proficiency assessment, criminal record search, proof of registration and identity, and finally, your continuing education. The document checklist is a useful tool to consult as you progress through the registration process. As you meet each requirement or obtain each document, put a check mark in each box to keep track of your progress. You can access this document checklist through our website under the application guide. Now that we have walked through the registration process with the College of Dietitians of Manitoba, let's look at the timeline of this process, the costs associated with this process, and the possible outcomes of this process. Once the College Board of Assessors has received your application, you have 30 days to send in all necessary documentations as outlined in this presentation and in the application guide. We will confirm with you that we have received all your documents. If you do require more time, please contact the College of Dietitians of Manitoba for an extension. Our telephone number, toll-free number, and email are available on this presentation slide or on our website. Let us discuss the timeline. Applications usually take 4 to 6 weeks to review. CDM will send a letter to you about the results of your assessment at that time. The letter may contain information about what type of academic or practical upgrading or training you require. If you require academic upgrading, the Board of Assessors will let you know which university courses you need to take. If you require practical training, the Board of Assessors will also direct you in this area. We will give you more details in the next couple of slides. There are some costs involved in the assessment process. These are outlined in this slide. The initial application fee of $80 is a one-time fee. For an academic assessment, the fee is $250. If you would like your practicum to be assessed, that fee is $250. Or if you require an academic and practicum assessment, that fee is $400. The College Board of Assessors will review your completed application. As mentioned before, you will be advised in a letter if any academic upgrading is required. Once any academic upgrading is completed and approved by the Board of Assessors, you may also be placed with a working dietitian to assess your practical skills, called a practicum assessment. The practicum assessment is not a practicum training program. It is an assessment of your practical skills. You will undergo a practicum assessment if you had completed an internship as part of your education. If the College Board of Assessors determines that you are required to complete academic upgrading in order to meet the academic requirements of a registered dietitian, you must take additional university courses at an accredited university, such as University of Manitoba. A list of online coursework is also available through the college by request. If you are not familiar with the nutrition care process, the international dietetics and nutrition terminology, we recommend you complete the online modules through Dietitians of Canada. These modules can be found at www.dietitians.ca. We'll talk more about that later. Work experience in lieu of upgrading and education requirements is not acceptable. In this slide, we will discuss what is involved in practical upgrading. If the Board of Assessors decides that you are to be placed with a working dietitian to assess your skills and undergo a practicum assessment, the assessment is full-time, and usually the assessment is for 9 to 12 weeks. However, it could be longer. The length of time for the practicum training will be established by the Board of Assessors and based on your needs. More information can be found in the Practicum Assessment and Upgrading booklet. This can either be found on our website or just click on the hyperlink to access that booklet. As mentioned before, if you are not familiar with the nutrition care process or the international dietetics and nutrition terminology, we do recommend you complete the online modules through Dietitians of Canada. If you are undergoing a practicum assessment as directed by the Board of Assessors, dietitians in the province of Manitoba use the nutrition care process. This is actually a standardized language that is used in the hospitals, communities, and other workplaces. If you complete these modules, you will be at an advantage knowing this standardized language in order to pass your practical assessment. There are charges involved with the practicum upgrading, and these are the responsibility of the applicant. The cost of practicum upgrading is $150 per week. There is an administration fee of $350. So to estimate a total cost, or to give you an idea of how much a practicum upgrading would be, say for example you are directed by the Board of Assessors to complete 12 weeks of practicum assessment at $150 plus the administration fee of $350, the practicum upgrading would cost you $2,150. Once you have met the academic and practicum requirements, you'll be asked to register as a graduate dietitian. As a graduate dietitian, you must then write the Canadian Dietetic Registration Examination, and you can work as a graduate dietitian. Graduate dietitians must pay for their license, which is prorated at a monthly rate of $45.83. For example, if you have completed the academic upgrading and the practicum assessment successfully in the month of July, then your rate would be $45.83 times 9 months, from July until March. March is our yearly registration date. Your graduate dietitian fee license would then be $412.47. As discussed in the previous slide, as a graduate dietitian, you must then write the Canadian Dietetic Registration Examination, or CDRE for short. The exam is designed only to confirm whether you have demonstrated minimal competence, and it is written in 2 3-hour sessions, in the morning and then in the afternoon. There are approximately 200 to 220 multiple choice questions. 20 to 30% are case-based questions, 3 to 6 questions related to a single case, and the remainder are independent questions, which are based on the realistic and practical aspects of dietetic practice that is national in scope. This examination is done on a computer. To write the Canadian Dietetic Registration Exam, there is a fee of $440 as of the year 2015. Candidates usually receive their results within 6 weeks. Candidates who fail the exam are allowed to rewrite the exam up to 2 additional times at a cost of $440 per write, and a restriction is placed on the individual's license to practice until the exam is successfully completed. When you pass the exam, then you are issued a license as a registered dietitian. To maintain your registration with the college, dietitians are required to submit professional development activities with their registration renewal, and this is done March yearly. There are several financial supports that may be available to internationally educated dietitians as they follow the registration process with the CDM. Information about what programs are offered can be found under the menu tab, Internationally Educated Dietitian, then select Financial Support, Helpful Information from the menu tab. We have a number of professional resources available on our website, and as you proceed through the credential recognition and registration process, it is important to continue your learning related to dietetics and the practice of dietetics in Canada and Manitoba. Some useful resources are Dietitians of Canada, What Does a Dietitian Do in Manitoba?, the Alliance of Canadian Dietetic Regulatory Bodies, and Academic of Nutrition and Dietetics. These can all be found on our website, or feel free to use the hyperlinks on this page. There are also many valuable supports outside the field of dietetics that may be important to access as you settle in Manitoba. These include settlement supports, language assessment and training programs, and labor market and employment supports. Information about these programs can once again be found under the menu tab, Internationally Educated Dietitian. Select Financial Support and Helpful Information from this menu. Thank you for reviewing our presentation dealing with how to become a registered dietitian in the province of Manitoba. Throughout the process, please feel free to give us a call. Our address is Unit 36, 1313 Border Street in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Our postal code is R3H0X4. Our telephone number is area code 204-694-0532. Our fax is 204-889-1755. We also have a toll-free number at 1-866-283-2823, or contact us by email at office.cdm@mts.net. If you have any more questions or would like to set up an appointment, we would be more than happy to meet with you. To ensure we are available, please call ahead to book an appointment. All the best in your registration journey.